welcome. Wonderful to see such a full house of people interested about this topic. So I think that we've heard a lot of talk about generative AI yesterday and today, and we wanted to be really practical in this session, so you can expect to start thinking about this from your own perspective, how to get started crafting your own generative AI policy. But let's start by introduction. So my name is Mary. I am CEO and founder of SciDot. We are an AI governance company helping companies and governments, organizations in systematic AI governance is also getting prepared for the coming regulations. And here is our team. Okay, do you want to start, Hanna?
Thank you. My name is Hanna Zak. I'm the chapter lead for data science and AI for the city of Amsterdam. And I'm here with the algorithm team of the city. So Talar, Asia, and Dan. And then we also have...
Yes, hello, my name is Veera Siivonen and I'm CCO at SciDot and Mary's partner. And in this session I will be giving you the opportunity to speak as well. So I hope everybody's active and also contributing, and I'll bring you the microphone when you want to speak.
Exactly, and we don't have all the answers, so we are here to discuss with you and hear from you also what you have learned about these topics, and bring up ideas that could be valuable for everyone. So let's take the opportunity to have this as a conversation. We hope that in the end of this session you will be having clarity on what is AI, Gen AI policy, and why is it important. I'm checking where do I see the slide myself, easier. And then something practical, understanding about the contents of a good AI policy. This is something practical we want to bring forward to you, and have also a conversation with neighbors you're sitting next to, and then as a group, what do we think about these topics and what actually should be then discussed under those key themes. And finally, and in the end of the session, we're also sharing QR codes where you can download a couple of templates. So a Word document for you to start crafting the actual AI, Gen AI policy document. It's a draft and really hopefully a starter for this practical work in your own organizations. And also you will get the slides for facilitating these kind of sessions and conversations within your own organization. But let's start this workshop by looking a little bit few topics around this theme, and start by what is AI Gen AI policy? What do we mean by this term? And basically, it's a clear guideline that helps govern the responsible use of generative AI within your own organization. So we can think of it as kind of a house rules for how you can and how you should not use generative AI. And I think very important perspective of this one is also that it not only sets the rules, but it also encourages and sets expectations for people who are interacting with these tools or building Gen AI based or powered applications for accountability and taking the responsibility as users or builders of these technologies or products based on these new technologies. So why is it so important? Why is it so important? So I think clarity here is the key word, really. And what we are seeing now in the market is that the technology has been taking off really with such a huge pace, and there are a lot of expectations on this area. Everyone wants to experiment. How many of you have used any Gen AI-based applications? Hands up. Okay. Everyone, I guess. ChatGPT probably as the most popular one. How many of you are building or have piloted, created your own applications using frontier models or foundation models? Okay, huge number of people. So this is really the situation. And how many of you already have a specific policy to govern these tools? Okay, great. Great to see hands there. And we hope to learn also from you. So, please share what you have already learned while doing this work. And hopefully for the rest, we hope that you can get started or inspired to get started on this one as well. But what is really important at this point of time is that there are no regulations giving us answers for what good look like in this area. We're expecting AI regulations to come, and there is this last-minute clarifications on how does AI Act think about, or how will generative AI and general-purpose models, foundation models, be governed under that regulation. Hopefully, it will bring a lot of clarity for us. But at this moment, there are no specific rules or regulations or standards for what is good, what does good look like in this area. So for this reason, it's super important that when getting started and when you have started already experimenting with these tools, you take the responsibility in your organization, and this policy can be bring that clarity for in the situation where there are no those generic rules and regulations to bring that clarity. And also something that we discuss a lot with organizations with whom we are discussing about this is that there is huge need for this establishing a safe place for experimentation. And what we have been seeing also is that some companies are addressing these uncertainties, or public organizations addressing these uncertainties with this kind of policies that, okay, let's do nothing, stop policies, like Hanna, you have raised this term, which is really good term for that one, and that's probably something that none of us would actually like. So good Gen AI policy is also an alternative to those stop policies, which are basically based on that, high uncertainty and fears related to being not in control. How do we use, and what are the impacts of these technologies? Okay. And of course, risk. So in general, I feel we've been working in this AI governance space for quite a while already, and it's been really interesting to see that awareness around Gen AI risks is much higher than what we have seen earlier in more traditional or other ML types of models. And I think that is a positive thing. There is general better awareness about the risks and concerns related to these models, and that also calls for, or raises this demand for good solutions for that one. We are continuously building this risk register to help our clients to be able to identify the risks that are relevant for their types of use cases. And at the moment, I think it's something around 90 generative AI specific risks that we have in the risk register. And that's also, of course, important driver for having this clear policy to govern these topics. And then what makes a good Gen AI policy? And that's really what we want to be diving into here. It should be clear and understandable for its users. And the users here is something that is also, interestingly, much wider than in any earlier context of AI governance. So we're talking about every employee in the organization who are using Gen AI-based applications and tools. We should be able to guide them in what is expected, how can they use ChatGPT in their work, and how, if they are allowed to use that. So, and then there is another group of users, developers, who are building something on top of these pre-trained models, and good policy needs to address these different kinds of audiences in a meaningful way. But it also needs to be comprehensive in a way that it doesn't sort of it covers in a meaningful way the key risks related to your way of using Gen AI in your organization. And brings clarity into those solving those problems, providing solutions for those risks that are specific to your organization. Here are some suggestions for the contents and themes for your Gen AI policy, and we will be discussing this together. what is important now at this point to mention is that we have been doing this based on benchmarking some of the Gen AI policies that are there already, and also most importantly building on our understanding about the risks and good governance practices, and trying to bring these together, and also discussing with clients and partners with whom we have been working in these areas, and trying to learn from the past as well. And that will take me to discussion with Hanna. And when you look at this one, and we've been working with City of Amsterdam for years already now with in the area of AI transparency and governance, and you have been forerunner in providing transparency to the ways how the city is using AI, but you are also working on how to govern Gen AI. So how does this look to you, and what do you find as sort of key themes that are on your table at the moment, and anything we can learn from the past in creating good governance practices?
Yeah, so just to be clear, that we as a city also don't assume that we have all the answers. We have a lot of questions, and we did collaborate, have been collaborating for quite some years, also with SciDot on AI or algorithmic governance, in creating, for example, the algorithm register. And we had quite some learnings from that collaboration and working on this team, which I think could be very meaningful in taking this next step in working on a Gen AI policy. I think it always starts with why. So also for Gen AI policy, working on Gen AI products, but also Gen AI policy, really thinking strongly about why are we doing this. Having a value-driven approach is key. So for the City of Amsterdam, that, for example, could mean having a policy that increases accessibility, as an example of one of the values that we cherish. So maybe digital accessibility, and preventing it from, for example, increasing the gap between the haves and the have-nots, to make sure that everybody benefits, all the people of Amsterdam benefit from Gen AI. And another one is including the people you touch with Gen AI or Gen AI policy in the process. So civic engagement can be super tricky, especially when working on technical products like Gen AI solutions, but it's so important to organize this in a meaningful way. Another one is creating ownership. I think that's also one that is touched upon in this outlook on how a policy could look. So ownership means, in this sense, not only within the technical team that creates an AI solution, or in the governance team that's creating the policy, but having a sense of ownership within the wider organization, in our context, in all departments, which also means that you need to educate a wider group of people on the impact and the possibilities of generative AI. And it's not an only importance, to have a wider group of people being able to make decisions, but also to allow them to get a bit more comfortable in also being transparent, and allowing them to say, well, we don't have all the answers, we don't know everything, but we can be transparent. We can allow ourselves to be transparent about the questions we are tackling right now on how to use Gen AI, and in which cases to apply it, and in which cases to not apply it. So that's a big one. I think I'm missing one, but I can't quite remember it. So maybe I'll come back to it later stage. Yeah.
I know that you've been very inclusive in the way how you have been approaching AI governance or algorithmic governance already before Gen AI, but how has Gen AI now and taking to use or interest towards using Gen AI impacted the number of people in the city organization who should be part of this governance discussion and also users of policies?
So right now we are working together with, so we decided not to only work with a department that's focusing on governance, but to include like directors of all departments in the city in thinking about, okay, which education do we need for ourselves, for example, directors of all kinds of departments in the city, to be able to have, to add to how the policy would look like. Yeah, and to also make sure that, as you said, not be scared to not try stuff, but to have experiments and to foster innovation in pilots, but doing it in such a way that the pilots are being done in multidisciplinary teams. That was the last point I was almost forgetting.
Good.
Doing it in such a way that it's done in multidisciplinary teams, having not only technical experts in there working on these pilots with Gen AI, but also, for example, a privacy officer represented, and if possible, even an ethics officer, to allow them to already, use the principles that we do know, that we have, that are important, that we already created based on a foundation on working on algorithmic governance, but also to have the learnings from the output of experiments and pilots, and feeding them into, this feedback loop into the governance, the policy as a whole.
Yeah. All right. That sounds encouraging, and I think that encouragement is the main thing we want to do here, and I think it's important that none of us knows exactly what is the impact, what are all the uses for these technologies, but that's not the reason to not do anything. So I really would like to learn from that approach of being able to actually learn by doing and clarify the approach also while we go. All right, let's move on then, and let's dive into this topic. So what will happen in the next part of this session is that we will take a few of those. Let's see how many we have time to go through together, but let's actually discuss about those topics that we find important to be part of this kind of policy. And this is also a moment where we would love to hear from you. And there were people who have already done this in their organization. So what have been the learning points from your perspective? Let us also know if there is something missing from this full picture, the topics that you would definitely want to see there, or topics that you feel that these are unnecessary. There can be critics as well, so we're open to that one as well. But let's start with the first ones, or the first one. And this is actually a really big one. To be honest, I would gladly put this into two different themes because it's a lot to basically make a statement about what you can and what you cannot do with generative AI. So here and there are a few triggering questions for you to think and start framing this from your own organization's perspective. But basically, it's really important to clarify, and also what Hanna, you mentioned about why. So why we're interested about generative AI. So we don't need a policy if it's not relevant for us. So what are the areas where we see opportunities for our organization, where we want to encourage our employees to innovate and take into use this new technology and start experimenting. So that is, I think, the starting point also to really clarify that, do we see an opportunity here? Where is the opportunity? Where do we want to encourage the organization to find new value from this technology, and then another perspective could be approved applications. So making it clear for employees on what are the tools that are allowed, or is there this kind of a list of allowed tools and models, technologies that can be used, and then where they should be focusing on their experimentation and use. And finally, then a big thing, but it's really important also to be very clear about the uses where the organization should not deploy these technologies. So and that might be even a topic of its own theme here, but that is something very concrete, and thinking about the audience of every single employee who will somehow interface these tools. So being clear about what is not allowed, what is prohibited, is also very important. But let's move on then to actually share. These were just triggers. There are some questions for you to think, and I would encourage to take the perspective of your own organization and think about your potential future Gen AI policy. What are the things that you might know already? What should be part of this part of the policy, and share ideas with your peer next to you. So how do we do this?
Yeah, maybe spend a couple of minutes discussing with your neighbor next door, think about this topic and your organization and what it could be. And of course, you can't, do the final policy now, but just think about the topic, discuss with your partner, and let's come back in a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Okay, everyone. Yoo-hoo! Let's continue. Thank you, everyone. It's very good to.
I love this.
It's a pity to stop this lively discussion, but happy to tell you that we'll continue the discussions with the partner very soon about the next topic.
I bet this is the loudest room in this whole building.
Yeah, we're really, really, really happy that you're talking. But let's now move to let's have a short discussion among all of us. So I'd like to ask a couple of you about the discussions you just had. I saw a couple of lively discussions, for example, here in the front. Are you happy to share a few thoughts about what you discussed?
Sure. So we came to conclusion that no one knows how to do it. I am from a relatively large company, Pegasystems. 6,000 employees. We're a billion-dollar company dealing with largest enterprises in the world, and this is uncharted territory for us. And Pam here, her own business, something smaller. I don't know. You want to say something?
Well, what I wanted to say was I'm from the U.S. and a bit of Wild West kind of country, right? So obviously the policy will be important, but at this point I think people are just dabbling with it to see what they can do. So it's kind of where we are.
Yeah, great points. And I guess it's possible also to say what are okay use cases and not try to have it all at once, right? Anyone else want to share? Maybe you?
Yeah, sure. We use the time for introductions, so to be honest.
Important as well.
Yeah. But we also, what my neighbor also said, there are so many tools available there, and in your case, it was in the marketing realm. What can you do with it? What I see from our side, I'm from Amsterdam Data Collective, is a consultancy here in Amsterdam in data and AI, and we work specifically for heavily regulated industries like financial services, healthcare, and the public sector. So it's not what can you do with it, and the technical part for us is definitely not the problem. It's especially in this area, and also the ethical and the transparency in the usage of AI. The first cases that we have been building already for clients are really in, let's call it, the commercial area, chatbots, more personalized communications with clients or relations, that area.
Really interesting. Anyone else still want to share their thoughts before we go to next? Yeah.
So I was not going to brainstorm with myself, but my name is Hilary Richters. I'm from Deloitte, but maybe on the first one where Gen AI can really make a difference is if you use it for creating inclusive documents. Yeah? So every organization sends mailings to their clients, if you work for a public sector, you do it for more people from society, and Gen AI can really help you make it more inclusive, thinking about not everyone understands the same language that you and I are talking here to, and how do you make it more understandable? I think that's I can say a lot of harms of Gen AI, but the really good strengths of that, I think, is really in creating inclusive languages to society.
I love that one, and I have to say that in our policy template, the titles have been made, hopefully, less expert language with the help of ChatGPT, or we use that in the process. But I think it's really good point.
Okay, great. Let's move to the next topic. And remember, like this is just the beginning of the whole Gen AI policy creation. So yeah, be ready just to talk and experiment also with ideas.
Yeah, and the next one is really we talked that there is no specific regulation for Gen AI, but there is a lot of other regulation that applies to our businesses and the way how we do. So this is really to highlight and remind people who are working on these technologies about the existing other regulations, for example, privacy. Data protection related regulations and the fact that we need to comply with those and consider those when we are taking to use these policies. Of course, this is also a place to get people ready for the coming regulations that we know will be there. So a very important part of this part. But also then organizational policies. Some of you may have policies for AI in general. So how do those relate now to the area of Gen AI? But importantly also what Hanna-Juuso mentioned, the ethical principles. So many organizations already have ethical AI principles, and this is definitely the place to bring those forward and also help everyone know about those principles and the value basis ground that we also want to root and ground the use of generative AI. And one more topic that is maybe not gaining enough attention is also the terms of service of the providers of these technologies. So if you're taking to use OpenAI's models, there are a bunch of documents to familiarize with and expectations from the provider of these technologies. So that's really important part to make sure that people know that there are expectations from the third parties that on whose models you are building your solutions on, and it's important to also respect those rules of the ones before you in the supply chain. And let's do the same with this.
Yeah, let's have a discussion with the neighbor. Think about all the kind of rules, documents, legislations that your company or organization needs to comply to anyway, and which ones of them are related to the topic, and which ones you would need to consider, and also like company values and things like that. So discuss what you need to consider when doing the Gen AI policy. Okay. Have you had the discussion? Let's continue. Okay. It seems that it's the same lively people that are having these lively discussions. I'm happy for that, but let's continue. We do have we will not go through all the 11 things today, but we try to talk about as many as possible. So I'd like to hear a couple of points again from the audience. So anyone who wants to volunteer, you?
So hey guys, my name is Maya. I'm a compliance expert focusing on information security. So this is exactly what I was doing in my organizations. I'm a consultant, so I work in many places, and now I focus on highly regulated companies. And the first thing that they say, we don't need an AI policy. We don't use it enough. So the first thing that we're doing is like gap analysis, and I usually there are 4. It's a bit talking about the last question for just 4 seconds, so I can give you the content. For what I usually see, there are 4 places that AI might be relevant, like the smallest is when the employees use AI tools. The second one, that the employee uses AI tools to develop things themselves. Later, that the company uses other services that uses AI, I don't know, AWS, Copilot, whatever. And the last thing is that the company develops an AI for the use of others. And between all of these options, suddenly many companies realize that AI policy has relevance to them or might be risky for them. And it's really interesting process to do with clients, because the first thing they say, it's not relevant for us. So, and about this question, so I usually have two approaches. Either create, As an information security and compliance expert, we have so many policies and so many regulation. Depends on the field, depends on the country. So you can either have one AI policy that like elaborate on everything, or you can have like if you have, I don't know, access policy or HR policy or the separate policies that your companies already have, to add like a section that relates specific to AI. And what I usually offer is to do a mix, to create one AI policy. And if you have specific topics that need to be elaborated, make sure that you put it in the right place, because try to think, as you said, you want it to be easier for users.
Thank you. Any short comments from anyone? Let's keep it short so that anyone, down there.
I work for World Press Photo, and we're a photo competition with photojournalists and documentary photographers. And what I find interesting in this slide is that everything is new, everything is like changing, but actually a lot is the same. In photojournalism and documentary photography, there is a huge body of work already on what is ethical and exploring all the gray zones. And a lot of that doesn't change with the new tools. A lot does change, like the ease of use, the speed, like this sort of thing. But the fundamental questions and values sort of stay the same, I think.
Yeah, great comment. Thank you for both of them. Still one in the back. Okay.
Hi, my name is Frank. I'm a consultant for smart city, which are trying to make a kind of AI involvement and learn how to use it. And especially the main problem with cities is that the citizens do not have any kind of trust. So we do not have only to create a kind of paper, a kind of digital version of our generative AI paper, but we have to make playgrounds so we can show how this AI solution will work with the citizens in the city. And I think this, if I wanted to create a paper about generative AI ethic, I think I have to go to the citizens and make a kind of human-centered AI progress, so I could involve them from the first step on. So if people are getting in contact with things they have to learn for the future, not only by reading, only by hearing, they can't accept it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the comments. Actually, the next. Did you have a comment? Sorry.
It might be good to respond to that. I really appreciate that approach, and it also, I think it's true that it's not only about creating a document, but it's about using those principles to be in contact with citizens and to create together. And also to be daring in the sense that even when you're in the playground phase and you don't have everything figured out and you don't know about which laws are in place, that you allow yourself as an organization to be transparent about the progress and also be transparent about the things that you didn't figure out yet and you have questions on. Also to really try to improve on that trust together with the citizens. Yeah.
And I think what is also really important, even if you have a legal basis for a process or something project you just started, just make sure it's much more than that. I have a legal basis, but is it really the ethical standard? Like, am I open? Am I inclusive? Am I transparent? Those are really the values we always have to keep in our minds, even if you have a legal base.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, great comment. Hey, now we thought that you could actually decide what's the next topic, so I'll let you decide. So which one do you want to discuss next?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Yeah, just pick one.
Let's go for managing risks of generative AI-based tools.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I don't have answers for you, so let's go directly to discuss with the team, and especially maybe what is specific in this, compared to any risk management we are familiar of.
Yeah, maybe worthwhile to talk a bit about the risks that come with the models. Maybe Mary, you could say a couple of words about that before we go to the actual groups.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the more I dive into this, the more difficult it is for me to pick the one risk that is really important for me, because the risks occur in the situation where you actually apply these pre-trained models, and here I really want to emphasize the role of the deployer of these tools, of the frontier models, foundation models. You are the first point in the supply chain who actually have possibility to really manage your risks. So yeah, I guess the message here is that familiarize with the risks that are specific to your area of applying generative AI, and what are the good practice mitigations related to those one, and focus really on understanding, are these that kind of risks that are mitigatable? We know there are copyright related uncertainties with many of those models that we are using generally in industry in large scale already. That's a risk that no one has really properly, or very few have properly solved. So what is your organization stand on this risk, for example? But then also, what are the particular specific risks that relate to whatever the use case you are deploying your Gen AI to, and what are the solutions? Can those be solved? Or are there such risks that are just too high to be taken, that basically would lead into a situation that, okay, we have to say that this is not possible, we cannot use, this risk is non-mitigatable, there are no solutions, and that leads to that we need to make solutions which have this risk present, prohibited, for example.
Can I add a point on that?
Mm-hmm.
So in general, right, generative AI tools are like black box, because what it backs into are foundation models, which is built on transformers. And those transformers are black box. And I think what makes sense when you're dealing with tools like this is, how do you differentiate with your data? And your data becomes more important from data protection, from ethical use, legal standpoint. As long as you find an approach where you are keeping your data safe, protecting, and ethically using, and continue to have that oversight on generative AI tool that you use through human in the loop, I think that is the best way to manage risks related to generative AI.
Human in the loop. Good that you raised that one, and clear solution for example, or one important part of any use is in relation to hallucinations and the problem there. Any other? Actually, should we have the discussion in this way that if you have any comments on this one, let's just have the conversation, all of us together.
I have just one quick question. The copyright or remark you made. Is it a correct understanding of mine that in the Copyright Act, data and text mining has been allowed as long as the copyright holder doesn't make explicitly a prohibition that his material or her material may not be used for data and text mining. I've heard a lot about copyright infringement, but this was explicitly added to changes to the Copyright Act.
Is there anyone who knows really well the copyright-related laws? I would love to hear.
Sorry? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On March 14th of this year, the Copyright Office of the United States handed down their ruling as to what can and cannot be copyrighted with regard to artificial intelligence. Their exact words are, it must have significant human interaction. And that's where they stopped. However, they did reserve the right to resolve and to update the ruling, but they also reserved the right to yank the copyright of any work that they found was significantly created with artificial intelligence. They're holding hearings. There are a significant amount of meetings that take place in the United States for this particular reason so that they can further refine the ruling. But that's the only federal office in the US that has handed down any type of concrete ruling. And it has appeared in the Federal Register, so it is official.
And this was about copyrights of the outputs of generative
Exactly,
AI.
the output of generative.
We have this both the training data and the copyrights related to that one that you were probably talking about. Yeah, exactly. And we have these cases at the moment where these big model or builders of these models have been sued for copyright infringements.
There's a large case that's going forward in the United States for the input now.
Yeah,
we have major issues.
Yeah, another comment here.
Yeah, my name is Alessio, I work for Philips. Considering the input to the generative models, I think one risk is the leaking of sensitive information from the company, from the patient perspective, considering my company. So we have tons of regulation and policies, and in particular, we cannot use ChatGPT for these particular reasons. But I think one very good use for large language model is to interact with your body of knowledge or your policies, for example. My company, for example, we have tons of IPs and tons of technical notes, and it's very difficult to keep track of all of those. And it will be amazing for me to have a way to interact with these documents with a chatbot.
Can you open a little bit? How have you now, through this solution, mitigated, for example, the hallucination problem?
Yeah, we don't use
basically curing. In what use you have the large language model compared. Sorry, if you're not comfortable to opening, that's completely fine. But
no, at the moment we don't use. We cannot use any chatbot. We are trying to use Copilot for assisting in code writing. But yeah, for hallucinations is another story. For example, I generate synthetic 3D bodies or synthetic images, and I always try to match the input distribution of the data and check the data that I'm using then for training other models. Yeah, I don't have a clear answer. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Hi, thanks. So one of the questions that I've run into when working around these problems with risk workshops is the immaturity in the risk workshops. There's always a gap between the kind of risk managers and the technical people and the sophistication of the technology. In this case, even the most expert people don't understand the technology fully. No one does. It keeps coming up with new things which we don't expect it to do, or slight rearrangements of our way of thinking. So does anyone have any thoughts about how we deal with something that's moving so quickly and is so unclear when we're managing risks? Because today's risk might be minor compared to tomorrow's risk.
Right, I would agree, because the risks, when you look at generative AI, and if you want to break the risks down, I see 3 different types, right? Ones that we carried through from conventional AI, those that we already know from any typical AI risks, and those that we have learned as a result of generative AI. All of the risks that you displayed, I think they were spot on, but there are emerging risks that those are the unknowns. which I think will continue to come down through the pipeline. And you are right, because this is relatively a new technology and it's adaptive in nature. We are feeding back the data, and it's going to be more and more sophisticated in its response, in the way that it will act. But just one quick point. But if you want to differentiate on your enterprise data, if you want to really use the power of generative AI, but want to differentiate with your enterprise data, for instance, healthcare, you can use retrieval augmented generative approach, have your own database, vector database, and build prompts in a way that you're augmenting from your database and working with the power of generative AI as it's the backbone. So there are things that you can do to differentiate with your data and keep your data safe.
That's very good. And yeah, maybe the previous speaker, I don't know if you have used that as a solution for your, querying from your internal databases, but yeah.
It's okay. I could answer for the RAG thing. It's a very nice idea, but it's quite tricky to put it down to 100% kind of only on your data. Works to begin, but often it starts making things up, hallucinating again.
Very interesting. This would be a super interesting discussion for the another hour.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, should we move?
I think we need
move to the next topic. But like Mary started with, even in our we have been following tens of risks related to generative AI, and it's not a topic that would stop like that. It's I think everybody of us needs to kind of think about it as monitoring. Think that you need to monitor all the time going forward. So, but anyway, next.
And I want to take that one still. I think something that hasn't been discussed enough is the dependencies we are building to third parties while we're building our applications on these pre-trained models. So they keep on changing. So let's establish also the mechanism to actually stay up to date how the model that we are building on is changing and how that affects the performance and all the other factors of our model. But we need to wrap up. We were discussing with Hanna and the rest of the team also about this. What can we learn from the work we've been doing previously, and what you as Amsterdam or in Amsterdam City have been learning about putting in place AI governance in general. And it's not an easy process. And it takes time to get the whole organization with you. And these were the things that you actually, Hanna raised as the very important points, and I think they are, look so great to me that we wanted to bring also those on the slides. So I hope that this has encouraged you to start small. So get started, even though the environment is changing fast and we don't have the full clarity. Make it iterative and involve your organization. So we hope that this similar kind of setup or workshops could be organized in your own organizations and bring the people who are working with this, who will be impacted by these tools and who are expected responsibility when they take into use these tools in their work to be part and figure what is a good policy and what do we want to, how do we deploy these tools responsibly in our organization. And now still one slide, and there are a couple of assets for you. And while we're sharing this one, especially the second one is almost the same slides that you have been seeing here, but the first one is quite an extensive Word document, and that is what we've learned is that it's always difficult to get started. So that's put in place for you to have something concrete, tangible that can help you get started. There is also some placeholder example text that you can start building on, but the important thing is that you need to figure it out for your own organization. Hopefully this model and these themes have provided a little bit trigger for what to include there, what are the diversity of things under each of those topics. But yeah, now it's just starting to apply that in your own context, and hopefully it will be useful for you while doing this work. Does the link do they work? Any problems? Okay, good. All right. So if you don't want to download, it goes directly to download, so you can take a picture and figure out how to get it on your computer or send email to your or an email after downloading.
Yeah, I guess we have one more last question.
Okay.
The audience.
Thank you for taking my question. I was wondering, how do you feel the so-called AI manifesto that some companies are building are related to this Gen AI policy? Is it the same? Is it more like an inspiration, or more like at a philosophical level, and then you derive policies out of this manifesto, or do you think it's not so useful? I was wondering, because most of the high-tech companies have created at least their manifesto, a bit less the others.
Can you remind all of us what exactly is the content of that manifesto? Is it the
those AI manifesto? Those are really like 10 lines or 12 lines, treating about we shall do this, we shall never do that, in a bit of a very fuzzy and not at all legal language, but more
there are these. Sorry, I cannot comment. Maybe someone, if there is someone who has an opinion on this one, I cannot comment specifically because I don't remember exactly what is the. But there are these house rules, a lot of those, and maybe that's a good next step, or the first step when getting started on this one, when you start to have clarity on what is really important to make that not the 10 or 20 page policy document, but put that house rules, one pager for your organization to summarize everything. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to go through that actual thinking and thorough understanding about what needs to be governed and how to do that. But I really want to encourage this kind of very understandable, easy to use house rules as well. They are powerful communication tools, in my opinion.
Yeah. Great. Hey, I think we need to finish. We're a bit running over time already, but thank you everyone for such a good participation today. It has been very nice, and please, if you're interested in talking to us, we are here to talk to you. Connect with us on LinkedIn if you like. Happy to help, and thank you everyone.
Thank you.